Hello, 5th grade. We're on Domain 6, the Reformation. Lesson 6, the Rise of Reformers, a closer look. Our objectives are to reread the informational text. We're also going to review the function of prepositions and prepositional phrases. We're going to distinguish between root words and words with the suffix ist, and practice spelling targeted words. So for today's reading, it's going to look a little bit different. We're going to be looking at an event that took place during the Reformation movement, and then we're going to talk about the argument that these people had in regards to that event. So we're talking about Martin Luther, the Pope, and Frederick III. So as you can see from here, and I'm going to minimize my camera, as you can see, there are characters on each part, and we will kind of talk about it a little bit more in a second. So for example, the first event is Luther wrote and posted the 95 Theses. His argument is that he wrote them because it opposed the Catholic Church's issuance of indulgences. Luther's views became more popular and he wrote more essays, and it's because he felt encouraged after the 95 Theses were published and widely distributed. He wanted to speak out more openly about the importance of faith. The Pope summoned Luther to Rome. The Pope also wrote a letter to Frederick III urging him to turn Luther over to the church officials. He summoned him because he wasn't pleased with the stir Luther was causing, and he wanted him to explain why he was criticizing the church. So he was super unhappy with how he was coming after the church and wanted it to stop. Frederick sent Luther to southern Germany for trial. Luther refused to change his mind. So this is a two-parter. So first, Frederick III sent Luther to trial. He didn't think Luther would be treated fairly in Italy. It's not that he had agreed with what Luther said, but he was right about what he wants. And then Martin Luther refused to change his mind because he believed in what he was writing. Then the Pope issued a papal bull calling Luther a heretic. He called him that because he refused to stop committing heresy, and he wouldn't back down. Next thing, Luther publicly defied the Pope by burning the papal bull in a bonfire because he wanted to defy them publicly. He didn't want this behind closed doors. He wanted people to know that he was stirring things up. So the Pope excommunicated Luther. Remember, excommunicate means cut off, because he wouldn't let go of what he was saying. The German nobleman called the Diet of Worms. Church officials asked Luther to recant. Luther refused and was labeled a criminal. He refused to recant because it was, rather than discuss the belief at the Diet of Worms, church officials just piled the writings in front of me and ordered to denounce my ideas. Frederick organized the fake kidnapping of Luther and hid him in a castle. So Frederick didn't believe that Luther was guilty and didn't warrant death, so he decided to hide him and protect him. While in hiding, Luther began translating the New Testament into German. So every day more people could read, so he wanted to make it more accessible to everyone else. And Luther came out of hiding. The Reformation had become a religious and political movement with many supporters. Our word work for today is defy. They watched as Martin Luther defiantly dropped a copy of the papal bull into the blaze. In doing so, Luther was publicly defying the Pope. To defy means to go against or to refuse to obey, and it is a verb. Now we're going to be talking about prepositional phrases. A prepositional phrase is found to show a place, a time, and with whom, or the partner. So some examples of those prepositional phrases are on the front door, in the Grand Cathedral. These are examples of showing a place. Then there's the time, every Sunday in 1517. That's explaining when that's happening. And then the partner is with who. So, on October 31st, 1517, Luther nailed a copy of his 95 Theses to the door of the church. So what is circled here is the preposition. The phrase that's in red is the full prepositional phrase. Notice how the preposition is the one word, and preposition is showing the who, what, or the where, the when, and the who. This one's showing the date. In red is the full prepositional phrase, and the function is time. So this is the whole purpose of this one, is to show time. So let's look at some other ones. In 1518, the Pope summoned Luther to Rome. So in and to are the preposition. The words that are in red are the prepositional phrases, and this is explaining the place. So right here, this prepositional phrase is demonstrating time. This one's demonstrating the place. The Pope wrote his orders on parchment and sent it with a messenger. So same thing, the on and with are the prepositions. On parchment is the first prepositional phrase, and that's showing place. That's where it was. With a messenger, that's showing who it was meaning for. This one, next one, has 3 prepositions and 3 prepositional phrases. After receiving the parchment from the Pope, Luther dropped it into the blaze. So the first part is after receiving the parchment. That's the first one. That's showing time. From the Pope, now we're talking about the who. Into the blaze, that's where it happened. So the suffix, remember a suffix is a syllable or syllables placed at the end of a root word to change the word's meaning. So the suffix is means a person who, and it's often added to nouns, and it doesn't change the part of speech of that root word, but it does change the meaning of the root word. So for example, we have the root word art. By adding artist, it's a person who makes art. So it's kind of weird with this one. You see it says not available. The Latin root dentum means tooth. Obviously, we wouldn't say dent as being a root word. That's not a word. So that's why they leave it as not available. But the word dentist is a person who takes care of teeth. Science, scientist is a person who studies science. Piano, pianist. It's a person who plays piano. Solo, soloist, a person who performs a solo. Notice how adding the is just showing that it's a person that's doing that. Here's some spelling words. Now remember, we're not doing an actual spelling test. However, it is important that we still expose ourselves to these words. So, immeasurable, immobile, impatient, impossible, incorrect, indefinite, independent, incomplete, excavate, exclude, exterior, and export. Okay, your assessment for today is a mid-unit assessment that you're going to complete in your Google Forms, and we will see everyone in our next lesson.